Well, it's a nice way to start the video. I'm coughing, but this time it's not from smoking or vaping, anything like that. Last year, I had to go into I had to get some kind of check because there were signs of some kind of emphysema thing, but it didn't amount to anything. And I've still managed to not vape or smoke for, well, I kind of cheated about 6 months ago with it, but I found myself really dizzy. The power had gone off our house, and I just thought it was the winter, and I found some of these vapes, and I thought, well, I'll just do this for a minute. But I wound up getting really dizzy from the stuff. So anyway, I'm glad I'm not vaping anymore or smoking. I'm glad in a way because it's so self-destructive, but in another way, of course, I miss it. But playing harmonica has helped out, although, some people laugh about it, but it's true because it's a smoking thing in a way. Without smoke, it's kind of like you have in your hand, instead of a vape, you go, instead of going, mango flavored vape, oh, how nice. And then you think, oh, popcorn lung or whatever, or your girlfriend or your wife or whatever, who knows, kids, pets, they might scream and say, God, it's affecting my heart. I feel like my heart's racing because, well, you need to go outside and do it then. But sometimes you're lazy and you don't go out and kind of. So with harmonica, you can't do that. It doesn't affect anything. But anyway, so I'm at a discount grocery store like last week, a different one, grocery outlet in another town, south of Eugene, and Rosalia again is at the store trying to find something not too expensive to buy. And today, this town, I don't know how many people is in it, maybe 20,000, maybe less. But I talked to there's a little hospital that I go to get checked out, and the doctor said, oh, compared to most of my patients, you're doing pretty well, but still, whatever. I have problems. I'm getting older and stuff, and to be 70 at the end of the year. But it's nice to hear that, in despite of my totally reckless, at times self-destructive lifestyle, that I've managed to live this many years and still have a doctor say, oh, you're doing better than most of my patients, which I feel bad about, but I'm grateful. But anyway, so I was shocked to hear, I don't know why I was shocked, but this friend of mine does maintenance work at the hospital. She was, I have no answers for, addiction problems because, the fentanyl crisis, I guess it's all over the world, but especially, well, everywhere in this country. And I'm kind of, I don't know, maybe just because I'm naive, but I am shocked to hear that she told me that she knows of at least 10 families or 10 people that have OD'd and killed themselves on fentanyl. And because she said that, because when I used to be a heroin addict and opiates, narcotics, and a lot of the last year, I was on methadone Subutex between 2002 until 2023 when I had an emergency brain surgery because I fell down. So staying up nights, writing and things like that, and I just slipped and fell, and Rosalia found me on the floor. But anyway, I got off that stuff then, and I'm grateful for it because, being addicted to anything is horrible. But anyway, my friend Mel was telling me, of course, everybody knows this, that you can't, get, you have to be careful because fentanyl seems to be in everything, is what I'm trying to say. And you hear this time and time again, and it's just such a crummy thing. I mean, I know they had me on years ago, a fentanyl patch, and I think they gave me some other pain relievers, and I think I was on like 120 milligrams of methadone or something. And I don't even, to me, it was just an average day. I didn't feel high or anything from that stuff because, of course, methadone doesn't get you high. And they were giving me that. I used it initially to get off being strung out on heroin, and I just should have just quit. To this day, I just should have just gone cold turkey and not mess with methadone. I had sworn I was never going to get on it, but I got on it overseas in Holland, and then I got back on it. And anytime you're dealing with an addiction type thing, you're just stuck. You're just fucking stuck. You can't go. I had to take a trip across the country from Seattle to Cocoa Beach, Florida, to well, I was visiting my girlfriend Rosalie and her parents. We went down there to San Francisco area, and then I had to fly down to Los Angeles and drive across the country to Cocoa Beach driving my sister's car out there. And first I had to get guest doses in San Francisco. Anyway, I was later told the same place Jerry Garcia was methadone. As I methadone. Oh, isn't that cool? Anyway, actually met his ex-wife, and also Ken Kesey's ex-wife, the same woman, Mountain Girl. She liked my harmonica playing. I thought that was kind of cool. She said that was on the Oregon coast, Port Orford. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that after a certain amount of time on methadone, you're allowed take homes and carries. But at that time, I wasn't. I think or I only had a certain amount. But anyway, yeah, they had to. I guess I was allowed a certain amount because I went to San Francisco and got some more, and then had enough to drive across the country and then fly back to San Francisco from Orlando, and then I had to get more, methadone from that clinic to be able to take up to have enough to get to at least Eugene, because we drove up there, and then Seattle. The whole thing is a huge, huge headache, and it's like people in bands, if they have players, that are on methadone, I don't think that they like that much, because it's just a headache, and you're stuck on the thing. I was so glad to get off of it, and then deal with the Subutex, which is something, or buprenorphine, which is not it's not a narcotic exactly, but and you can't take narcotics on it. You can't take pain pills on it because you get really sick. But anyway, it replaces it, and but still, for me, that stuff gave me a lot of energy, too much energy at night, especially. And it's nice to be creative and everything, but not when you're standing night after night up, and then you find yourself falling anywhere you happen to fall to sleep. And that's what happened. Why I hit my head on the bathtub and got bleeding in the brain, and then I had to get emergency brain surgery. But for some odd reason, it helped my memory, and I remembered more things than I kind of wanted to remember. But anyway, I was shocked, when Mel said this was last. I think, well, she said just recently there had been three deaths in the same house from fentanyl, and maybe another person, they had to use 6 cans of Narcan to get the person back. And I've overdosed, on heroin more than once. I don't even know how many times, and I was very fortunate to get, to survive it. And I know one time they called emergency people, and they revived me through Narcan. And then the ambulance, I kind of closed my eye. I had to go to the hospital. It was on the coast. I started to close my eyes, and they go, "Oh, he's doing it again. We need to give him more Narcan." I'm thinking, no. I'm just closing my eyes for a minute, please. Just stay away from me with that. But it doesn't matter, because, it's good to have it. And people really need Narcan if they're doing narcotics these days. Because, when I officially stopped using heroin completely, I mean, that chipping was in 2003. The summer, it was June 13th or 14th, I had swore it off. The night of the 13th, I had a bird, and the bird, because you don't make clear decisions, I was a cool little cockatoo, and Rosalie had gone down to visit her family in San Francisco, and the bird would want to crawl up on the edge of the futon. It just wouldn't. It would squawk when it was in its cage, and the other 2 birds were fine together. But this bird came over to me, and I let it get away with it, and it rolled underneath my arms, or something, and I, killed it basically, or it did after I took it to the vet, and that just was terrible. It was horrible, and the reason I think that happened was because I was on methadone, and the reason I was on methadone was because I was on heroin, and I just think it was like, okay, I had to stay on methadone, but I swore off heroin that day and that night. And somebody said later on, he goes, if you ever use junk again, it's going to be like pissing on Bella Luna's grave. And her name was Bella Luna because that was named after a town in Italy, in the Dolomite Mountain region in northeastern Italy. Beautiful place. I played a few times, I think, with RL and some other people. And that she was a beautiful bird, and she didn't deserve to die. But because my judgment was not clear, and I had to remain on methadone. Now, Rosalia's mom said she thought that Belluna was an angel that came down from heaven and got me to finally swear off, uh, heroin or junk, dope, whatever you want to call it. And out here on the West Coast, it's mostly Mexican mud. They call it tar, and it's people smoke it. But unfortunately, I was shooting it into my muscles, and it was a stupid thing to do. But by doing that and not IV, my veins were messed up, and I couldn't maybe save my life, because when you do it IV, in your veins, you can overdose easier. But nonetheless, it caused me health problems to this day. I think it was the cut that they had in it. I could be wrong, but I've had problems off and on since those days. If I had just, found another way to deal with my problems instead of falling back into it, I think I would be able to not have these disability problems that I have. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about, then fast forward to now. The one saving grace at that time was that there wasn't, there was, until it was later years that they used fentanyl for my pain a few times, but nobody had ever heard about that. And also, another thing I never touched was OxyContins, which the pharmaceutical companies created. It made zillions of dollars off, and at people's expenses, to because when you're strung out and people think, well, why does somebody become an addict? Well, nobody wants to become an addict, but it happens, and nobody wants to become an alcoholic. I come from sort of an addictive family. I remember, uh, it's just the way it goes. I heard my great grandmother was an opium addict in the Midwest in the 1800s, late. And I don't know, my cousin didn't believe that, but it might be true. And her brother and her brothers, one of them died from liver cirrhosis, And I remember I was with him in a bar, and I went to pick up a car in Montana where he lived. And before we went back to his place in Bozeman, we stopped at a bar, and there was a piano in there. And maybe the difference was why I've survived this long is that I went over to the piano to play it, and he stopped at the bar to have a drink. And he was a super talented person, but liquor was never a problem for me. But it is sort of a gateway thing when you get loose. The drug people or counselors always say you can't be drinking because it'll mess you up. You'll go and do something you'll regret. But for me, that wasn't a problem. But anyway, Paul died of liver cirrhosis, and then another cousin, was on methadone for years and years. I said, John, it's just not worth it. I mean, if there's any way that you can avoid this, and now especially, and this is the whole point of this little thing, with the fentanyl out there, and how dangerous it is, unless you have a death wish, and I suppose every addict does in some ways. Yeah, try to try to find some other way to find peace besides, once you start using something a few times, unless you have unbelievable willpower, you will continue to use it, and then you will be addicted, and then you will be in big time trouble. So on that, I'll say, I hope Rosalia finds some groceries that are less expensive than what I got to eat at the Thai restaurant, which she says we can make much cheaper than me going to the Thai restaurant. I suppose she's right. Rosalie is always right. Okay, y'all have a good morning, evening, night, and I wish you the best. Stay away from trouble. You know what I mean? Take care of that.